Dignitaries to be seated, please. A very good afternoon, everyone. We all gather here for a wonderful session titled Leading with Innovation Satellites for B2B and B2C Video. I can see a lot of B2B conferences happening here itself. The session will be chaired and moderated by Okay. The session will be chaired and moderated by Shri Sunil, Additional Director General, Prasar Bharti. Can we have you on the stage, sir? Mr. Sunil is the Additional Director General of India's public service broadcaster, Prasar Bharti, with two verticals, Duda India for TV and All India Radio for radio. Mr. Sunil is the Vice President of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, President of Broadcasting Engineering Society of India, Governing Council member of Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, and is also currently the Vice Chairman of the Technical Bureau of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union. At Prasar Bharti, he is currently heading the Technology Division, International Relations, Design and Planning Wings of Terrestrial Transmitters, TV studios and satellite division, global and domestic distribution as well. He has headed the country's direct-to-home divisions of DDI, marketing division and the central archives division of the corporate. Very warm welcome, sir. For the session, we have distinguished speakers, Mr. Rajat Nigam, Group CTO at Network 18 Media and Investments. Can we have you on the stage, Mr. Rajat? Thank you, sir. Mr. Sanjay Duda, CEO, Planetcast. A very warm welcome, sir. Mr. Raju Pulgurtha, Senior Sales Director, South Asia, SES. We are honored to have you here, sir. Mr. Rajdeepsinh Gohil, Sales Director, Asiasat. Very welcome, sir. The last not the least, Mr. Thomas Antony, Director Sales, APSTAR. Very welcome, sir. We're looking for a very interactive and informative session. Thank you. I leave the dais to the chair, please. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rajat Nigam, Group CTO at Networks 18 Media and Investments, Mr. Sanjay Duda, CEO Planetcast, Mr. Raju Pulgurtha, Senior Sales Director Southeast Asia, Mr. Rajdeepsinh Gohil, Sales Director Asiasat, and Mr. Thomas Antony, Director Sales APSTAR, and the August gathering, along with the President and the Mr. Anil Prakash. At the outset, I thank the DG SIA, Shri Anil Prakash, and the SIA team for inviting me and the esteemed panelists today present here on the dais to be a part of the discussions on leveraging space to power next-gen communication and business, with a special focus in this session on leading with the innovation satellites for B2B and B2C video. Dear friends, we are well aware that the Indian space economy has witnessed remarkable growth with a range of public and private sector players contributing to its development, and on the government's aims to adopt a comprehensive strategy to achieve its vision for the space sector by fostering increased private sector involvement across the entire chain of the space economy, which is evident with the introduction of the India's Space Policy 2023 approved recently by the government. So the need for the broadband connectivity and access to data at any location is booming, whereas telco ecosystems are largely built using fiber, 4G, 5G network access and global cloud connectivity. Satellite has become an almost unubiquitous technology in many communication systems, and it is growing. At present, huge investments in space, launchers, and ground segment are witness to the need to be connected everywhere, conveniently, securely, and above all, with a good user experience. I would like to just touch upon 3 or 4 points on the importance of the space sector, which is in the current scenario. In the last year's budget, Honorable Finance Minister, she had announced that 300 TV channels would be coming up very soon, and they would pertain to the education sector. And you will not believe the type of the investments, the type of the monitoring. The Cabinet Secretary of the Government of India, he took regular meetings for this project, and today, on this date, the entire setup for launch of the 300 education channels is ready. So that is the type of, and how, because they have taken certain transponders on the satellite where DD Free Dish is there. DD Free Dish, of course, is a very emerging and grown-up sector in the DTH platform, with almost 6.8 million viewers as on date. BISAG is also on the same satellite, having the transponders on the same satellite, so that whatever viewers are there for DD Free Dish, they are automatically coming to the BISAG channels also. So 300 channels on GSAT 15 for only education sector, creating a requirement of the investment in the infrastructure, investment in the satellite capacity. So this is one area where the government laid emphasis, and we can gauge the importance of the project, how it has been monitored at the highest level, but not like them, but the Cabinet Secretary, when he is taking a meeting every 15 days to monitor a project, that shows the importance the government lays and the emphasis the government gives to this sector. So my point of view, just to highlight here, was how the space sector is being leveraged by the government also for use of the common man. That is one. Second, again for the BISAG, for the SAR satellite, for the SAR countries, they are going to provide education channel for all the SAR countries. They are on GSAT 9, they have taken transponders there, and again the capacity building and leveraging the space sector on that. Third, the government in this year's approval, they have granted 2,500 crores only for the broadcasting sector, on which a major chunk again goes to the satellite sector. So the upgradation and the capacity building of the already existing earth station, the ground-based equipment, and again hiring and leasing of the new transponders, that again gives the leverage on the requirement of the space sector. And recently, I'll just like to mention, yesterday I was going through some news article where Space Starlink India, they also have vying for this ground-based approvals for setting up the earth stations. Of course, there are many more players in that, Reliance Jio and so many others also. But then they also are now in a fray for setting up the ground-based stations in India. In totality or in a nutshell, this sector is quite emerging, quite promising, and I think today's forum for this topic is very apt, that we need to discuss, we need to talk about how this sector can be leveraged by all stakeholders, be it consumers or be it the providers. So, taking on this decision ahead, I would just like to introduce my colleagues one by one and start questions with them. Mr. Rajat Nigam, of course, he is a very old friend and with me for the last so many years. Rajat is the group CTO at Network 18 Media and Investments. He has been one of the most dynamic officers during his stint at Doordarshan, one of the very few who have been managing hands on all aspects of the media technology, from traditional media to Satcom to digital media OTT platforms. And most remarkable is that Rajat was recently recognized by CIO Today of US as one of the 5 top innovative CTOs globally. A big hand to him. So, I think I'll introduce the speakers one by one as I put the questions to them. And, Rajat, could you briefly introduce yourself a bit more and your insights into the changing trends of the satellite technology in B2B or B2C delivery of the content? So some idea on that.
Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be in this panel and with Sunil ji. I had a very, very long relationship with him. I started my career many years back along with him, and it's such a great feeling to share a panel with him. Thank you so much. And so is with the other panelist over here. I've been having relationship, business relationship, which has touch of personal over the years. And I'm really, really happy to be here. About me, I had the technology for Network 18 Media. We are into media business of satellite television, digital OTT. We run around 84 TV channels, which includes news, non-news, sports, entertainment, plus our OTT platform. JioCinema has been a recent entry to our family, and we ran IPL on that. So without taking much time, coming on to the subject, since I started my career somewhere around 30 years back, and in 30 years, the satellite industry has actually seen a huge changes as I witnessed myself. So I started my career when the television was called a idiot box, and today it is called a smart television. So that's the huge transition. When we started, there was a terrestrial transmission we used to do in Prasar Bharti, Duda channels. Satellite was used for backhauling. And then we went to the satellite transmission of it. It used to be some 36 megahertz per channel. That used to be the time, early 90s. There used to be a tracked van we used to call transportable remote area communication terminal to do any event live. And that would take 2 months of planning. And the things changed over years when we had plethora of DSNGs. The news channels started coming in, which was a big push for satellite vans to enable the news gathering. And there was, again, like from the technology point of view, there have been a lot of innovations and initiatives taken from C-band, KU-band, and all. Owned DSNG, private DSNG, higher DSNG. I still recall in early 2000 with the Sanjay Duda sitting over here, we started a higher DSNG model at that time, which was new some 20 years back. But this phase quickly transformed in over 10, 12, 15 years. And today, the news gathering is not dependent on satellite. Large part of it is using bonded telecom. Plus, there are a telecom network which helps the news gathering. Satellite certainly remains more of a reliable one. For us, for sure, certain events like for sports, we use satellite for backhauling. But then, yes, there is a challenge in continuing that. So wherein the space sector has evolved, the opportunity space of a space sector in media industry is diminished. And that is what perhaps we will hear in this panel about, since such rich shareholders, stakeholders are here, how that could be increased. I would leave it at this.
Thank you, Rajat. I remember long old days in 90s when television was first set up in the parliament, and Rajat was one person who, I think in a span of 10 to 12 days, he had set up the entire television setup for the Lok Sabha, for the Rajya Sabha, and for the central hall of the parliament for the first time. A very challenging task, but then that's the credibility which he carries along. So, friends,
thank you.
Moving over to our next colleague, Mr. Sanjay Duda, he's an old friend. Sanjay is the Chief Executive Officer of Planetcast Media Services, which is media products and services company using satellite and cloud platforms. MTech from IIT Delhi, Sanjay Duda brings with him marketing and general management experience for over 36 plus years. His last 2 decades have been spent at Planetcast Media Services, where his role over the years has spanned sales and marketing to operations, and more recently to that of the CEO. Sanjay has helped grow Planetcast into regional major with a dominant share of the outsourced media services business in India and Southeast Asia. Planetcast has recently also operationalized an IFMC gateway in India for delivering internet to moving maritime, aero and land-based vessels. So, welcome Sanjay.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll put a question to you. How is your organization presence in the B2B and B2C space?
Thank you, Sunilji. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here in this forum. All friends, one customer and friend, two of them actually. And so, coming back to your question, sir, our organization, PlanetCast, I speak from my perspectives as the CEO of PlanetCast. PlanetCast is a service and a solution provider. We have been working with broadcasters for the last 2 decades. Like Mr. Nigam just said, Rajat ji said that we talked about, teleport services. We talked about DSNG services and how the DSNG services have evolved over the period of time, how other technologies have taken over, partly, not completely yet. So we have also tried to project what is happening globally and seeing how things are going to change in India. Indian scenario has been in the past, I would say, as restricted or protected by regulation, both ways. It depends on which point of view we take. But definitely there's a slow change that happens. What is happening in the West or globally does happen in India. That lag is, of course, reducing with time now. So we, over the period of time, sir, we have been changing our solutions, our approach, so that we are more relevant to our customers over the period of time. Most of our services are B2B. Our focus was largely on, we started as a VSAT company. We very quickly moved into media space because we saw that that is where the growth is, where the consumption of technology is going to be there. And so we got into the teleport business and the DSNG business, and then we got into playout business. But as we saw that the linear channels, yes, it was good to hear from Sunil ji about how the government is, putting 300 new education channels. Very good. So government push is there to utilize linear video, consume linear video. But what we do see is that there's also kind of a subtle change which has happened over the past on the entertainment scenario, where linear channel growth has come down, but non-linear content consumption has increased a lot. So we have also accordingly gone into the cloud. So a part of our business is completely satellite based, which is linear television, and our growing presence is in the cloud on IP non-linear domain. So largely it is B2B, sir, but now as the role is expanding, people are looking for analytics, monetization solutions, things like fast channels. So we see ourselves with our customer going closer and closer to the consumer. So I would say we are a B2B2C kind of company now. And the trend is that there is a huge growth in consumption of content. I would say the major growth is happening towards non-linear as well.
Sanjay has been a very innovative CEO, and I'd like to place on record that it is the first time an indigenous newsroom computer system and file-based workflow has been set up by him at Hyderabad. He combined some 4 or 5 software organizations, different islands, put into one tested system, and I think this is one of the developments, indigenous Make in India thing, which Sanjay has pioneered, and we are now replicating that in the entire country. So thanks, Sanjay, for this innovative
Thank
approach.
you very much. Thank you so much, sir.
Over to our next panelist, Mr. Raju Pulgurtha. Raju is currently with SCS, has been there since 2003, and is working as a Senior Sales Director, Southeast Asia, based in Dubai. He holds a bachelor degree in the Electronics and Communication Engineering from Indian University and MS in Telecom Management from College Park, Maryland, USA. He has been with the satellite industry for the last 45 years and worked in DOT, CDOT in India and in the Intelsat USA. So welcome, Raju, to this panel discussion. And can you briefly introduce yourself and your organization in the context of today's topic?
Hello. Anyway, at the outset, let me thank Sunil ji for nice introduction. Also thanking SIA organizers here for giving me this opportunity to be here. Currently, I'm working in SCS. As you know that SCS is the international satellite satellite service provider. We provide both MEO and GEO services there. In the case of GEO, we have got more than 50 satellites, and it is a combination of wide beam satellites and also HTS satellites. And coming to the MEO satellites, we have got a combination of O3B, 20 satellites, and 4 we launched the Empower, and 3 more are in the pipeline. This year and next year we are going to launch there. As far as O3B is concerned, for last 10 years, we are in the service providing MEO services there. Since I'm focusing on the media services here, I would like to briefly touch on media services here. As of today, SCS is almost transmitting 8,000 channels, supporting 40 DTH platforms, reaching 1 billion people there. And that's what we are doing in this year. Apart from selling the satellite capacity, we are also managing the services there. We almost support playout for about 525 channels, and live streaming almost like 8,500 hours per day. And sports actually per day we support 750 hours of the thing here there. So this is about small introduction about SCS.
Thank you, Raju.
Thank you.
And very promising prospects of the company. And over to our next panelist, Mr. Rajdeepsinh Gohil. Rajdeep is the Senior Sales Director at Asiasat and is responsible for South Asia and Middle East region with 23 years of experience in telecom and satellite industry. At Asiasat, his role is to empower customers and partners with satellite-based services for sustainable development of their services and business. Rajdeep, I will put a question to you.
Sure.
How is the Asiasat innovating with satellite in the B2B and B2C space for video?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I think, although I don't find anyone from SIA, but I'm happy that SIA invited us to share our thoughts. I see, before I begin answering the question, I see our industry colleagues, who has been almost with me into the region, and some of the broadcasts and some of the veteran of the industry. So, just to address the Asiasat briefly, we've been very privileged that Asiasat has been in India since the inception of the first private television, Zee TV, in 1992. And today, in 2023, we have continued our relationship with those our customers over 30 years with Zee and Star, providing the services into B2B space. But of course, as we sit together to discuss the need of an hour and the innovation needed in satellite industry, I'm happy to put across some of the pointers that we feel is important and what we are doing in that context. First, all the satellite operators are now operating in a hyper-competitive market. So each region has a different challenges. And therefore, our approach to B2B market and B2C markets are different. So for example, when we talk about Southeast Asia market, there are different regional challenges into these markets, be it Indonesia or Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, or Philippines, China, or when you take South Asia for that matter. So each region has a different dynamics and landscape, and therefore our approach to B2B and B2C market is different. So Asiasat, of course, has been going through a lot of transformation. We were very early in those days when we hive off Speedcast, which was part of Asiasat, grew, but we realized that we want to focus being a wholesale operator, and we continue to be satellite operator until the time that the regulatory and technology has evolved, which I'm sure Rajat ji will agree, and a lot of other broadcasters, that they're looking at a more integrated services. Gone are the days when our customers completely just come and say, just give me a satellite bandwidth, right? So in the evolution stake of this region and the technology, today Asiasat is not only providing satellite frequency, but we are also providing B2B services into the different Asian market. which comes to the services delivery to the businesses. And in some of the market, we are also doing B2C. So for example, recently we have acquired a company called Insight, which is into content syndication. So now we have become the first time content provider to one of the landmark hotel in Hong Kong called Peninsula. So we are providing the complete bouquet of content to the hotels. Now this is just a beginning, and we're going to replicate this across the market and region as the region requires. Into the B2C segment, we are still at a very nascent stage because our consumerism is a lot more different than B2B space. But we are there in Indonesia working with in-country partnership for a partner providing B2C services, right? So in nutshell, today we are adapting to the different market in B2B and B2C space. And we are very happy that today we are working in India market to look at how we can converge that what Sanjay just mentioned, B to B2C space, since India is highly regulated market. But of course in India, I mean all our business is B2B today, all the broadcasters take our services, so that just simply makes it B2B. So that's where we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajdeep, and very well said, because the content production requirement for both the segments is different from B2B as well as B2C. Over to our next panelist, Mr. Thomas. Thomas is a seasoned sales and business development professional with over 23 years of experience in the satellite industry, both in the video and data business. He is the Director of Sales at APT Satellite and is based in Dubai with the responsibility to promote APSTAR Satellite's business in India and EMEA. So welcome, Mr. Thomas. And just quickly, can you introduce yourself and your company on this segment?
Thank you, Sunil ji, and my esteemed industry colleagues, partners, friends sitting here. It's my great privilege to have been invited by SIA to join this esteemed panel. I just want to start with saying change is constant. I would like to highlight when I joined the satellite industry, sir, I joined for providing satellite internet to the private ISPs, right, way back in early 2000. And we went on to serve the top 4 ISPs in India, but that journey was short-lived, right, because fiber came in and the ISPs obviously transitioned from satellite, which had its own hurdles in terms of how much capacity they could contract with satellite operators, and obviously there was an infinite capacity available on submarine cables. But that short-lived journey was, though we felt that what is the scope of satellite in Asia, South Asia, was immediately triggered by broadcasting. So like what even Rajat said, they moved from analog to digital. So that brought in a lot of investment into broadcasting, right? So we saw that our transponders were way back in demand, right, by the broadcasters. And the journey of the satellite for broadcasting, enhanced. I think now we are back in that stage where, like from what I can hear from Rajat and Sanjay, now we are questioning ourselves, okay, how much of satellite is going to be used for broadcasting, right? And as an organization, APT Satellite based out of Hong Kong, we have seen this, change in the market, and we have been changing the, kind of satellites that we are making. Now we are making more satellites towards data. That means it's like high throughput satellites. So wherein, of course, video will go, but maybe not on a broadcast mode, but it will go through via the data. So change is constant, and we continue to change also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Change is constant, and Rajat just now told about the changing trends of the satellite technology in B2B and B2C delivery. Rajat, what future opportunities do you see in the B2B and B2C space for the video?
So video is a commodity today, and the consumption or demand of video is rising with each passing day. Satellite has been a medium to connect the video from production to the consumer, typically what we call glass to glass. Now there is a question on that medium today. And so we need to look at what are the reasons. The reasons had been primarily the cost, besides the latency and other things which would come. So I would see a requirement of the application certainly is there. How we approach it, there are ways, there are modes, there are technologies. We all are technologists at some stage. We need to find innovative solutions, how to use satellite communication for media applications again. Like to me, today, if there is no constraint of cost, or there is no constraint of availability, I would still want to use satellite for doing remote production of IPL, which today I've been using the terrestrial links of, that is fiber network and MPLS networks and all. However, if there is no constraint, if given a choice, I would still want to do. So that is what the opportunity and that is what the challenge is. That if, as stakeholders of space sector, if we could generate those solutions which could edge these applications, the other modes of transport, there is a scope of it. There are, again, like what I read it, there are around 1,400 satellites launched every year, which is around 4 satellites per day. So there is certainly a growth of satellite. There is a requirement for that. However, which application, like LEO, MEO satellites, if they can be launched, more of that, regulation, if that allows, the cost, if that is allowed, that is where in the edge computing could be possible, which makes all the applications towards the IoT and immersive media, interactive media, etc., feasible. So those are the things which perhaps we may have to look at. One of the could be like having a data center in the satellite, and that would also add to the environment concern as well. The carbon footprint of media industry is growing, is rising, which is a concern. So as a satellite or a space sector stakeholders, if we could look on a concept, conceptually it is possible. It need to be looked into as a commercial model. Data center in the satellite, that could provide all these applications which today are moving away from the space sectors back to that.
Thank you, Rajat. Yes, very well said that the video has become a commodity, and a slightly divergent aspect of this statement, that yes, we are all hungry for the video, and different platforms and different innovations are coming, and the telecom network, which was ideally meant for audio, is heavily choked with the video. So there are researches going on between Prasar Bharti as the professor and IIT Kanpur and all, where we are trying to offload the video of the telco network to some other areas, maybe RF networks and all. So that is a slightly divergent aspect of this video consumption and how to meet that demand. Sanjay, over to you. What are the declining trends you see or the increasing trends in this business, B2B or B2C, on the content side?
Right. So I think, like you said, Sunilji, yes, there is a technology is a means to deliver what a customer wants. And like what Rajat said, data center in the sky, it's a great idea. It sounds like a fantastic idea. From where we sit and we operate on a day-to-day basis, we are a service provider, we are a solution provider. So we try and put things together, we play with the cards we get. Of course, I leave it to the satellite manufacturers and satellite companies to decide how they can change the technology. We have some insights from various discussions with them on how we are expecting satellites to change in terms of their technology. But essentially what we want is, like Rajat said, given the choice, he would go for satellite for contribution of very high value events. Question is, do we have the price points? Do we have the ground segment solution ready for that? So I think for us, what we see is B2B and B2C. B2B, I still feel because the uptime commitments, the quality commitments are very high. We as a service provider, solution provider, we see a lot of satellite relevance in that segment. B2C today, for whatever reasons, is largely driven through internet. So essentially the direct consumer will watch content through a technology which is based on IP on internet. So whatever technology is supporting internet-based delivery to the last mile at the right price is what is going to really win in the future. For us, we try to mix things together. We are looking at satellite as like a backhaul, dropping it to the last mile, putting a CDN solution there, and delivering to consumers. So wherever there is a need for high throughput, high uptimes, we use satellite. But definitely, mostly B2B consumption will be driven through internet-supported technologies. Plus, also, satellite companies need to come forward. We have been having many discussions with the satellite companies in terms of providing us with even the terms. For example, earlier we used to have these 3-year, 5-year deals. We are saying it should come down to pay as you use, because that is what is going to really fit the bill for the customer. So not just technology, but also I would say business processes have to modify so that we are able to address the customer needs, which is for getting the service they want when they want at the right price. And as a service provider, we try and put solutions together, different parts. It's not just one technology, it's a mix of technologies, bonded cellular technology with satellite technology, with CDN technology. They should all come together to give the final solution.
Well said, Sanjay. I think though the IP and this segment is posing a threat to the satellite sector, but then nevertheless, these will complement each other. And the satellite sector will grow and keep on growing, because as the emphasis is just what I told earlier, the emphasis of the government and the citizens is there on there, so it will keep on growing.
Right.
So very well said on that. Raju, I'll just put the next question to you. On the SES, how do you see the changing relevance of the satellite technology in B2B and B2C delivery of the content?
Yeah, actually, before dwelling on this subject there, best I want to give the context also here. In India, we have support 2 DTH operators. One is Airtel, other one is Dish TV, and they almost got 17 million subscribers by Airtel, and Dish TV is having 14 million subscribers there. And yes, definitely we have got challenges in the market there. And if you see, I am sitting in the panel, I have got also challenges here. One side, I have got competition from APSTAR and Asiasat. Other side, of course, the free dish. Of course, Dish TV, of course, is an ex-customer for me. We support them for the initial broadcast of DTH. But now they are our competitor also. And TV18, of course, also is a competitor for us in terms of fiber side. And Sanjay, Planet Cost is our existing customer. So we got challenges there. But I'm very positive about the challenges here. We can overcome definitely. I'm very positive about it. We have been talking about linear TV and streaming, everything here. Let me just step back and tell you, when we started satellite TV broadcasting, one channel used to occupy one transponder. So in a satellite, practically 10 TV channels used to occupy the entire satellite capacity. Then that point of time, necessity is the mother of invention. So then what happened? Then moved to the digital transmission there. Then everybody thought satellite is going to be doomed, and definitely they don't have any business there, because one transponder will support practically 30 channels. So earlier you should take only 10 channels. So 30 channels means how much growth will be there. But as of today, if you see 800 channels are there, and definitely nobody expected that channels will be go to 800 channels. 800 more channels are under approval also there. So that way the transition will take place. When they actually when everybody is taking the capacity, then the transition taking place from cable operators to the DTH, direct to the customer there. Then we transition from C band to KU band. So that way, this is taken there. When there is a capacity crunch for the satellite capacity, lot of technological innovations are taking place there, developments are taking place there. Right, like compression side, MPEG-2, MPEG-4, HEVC like this, and into the channel coding, the QPSK, that the DBS, DBS2, DBX has come there. That way, I think I'm very positive about this one there. And coming back to the challenges here. For pay TV is having a lot of challenges. I see that 3 challenges are there. One is from OTT. Definitely OTT is giving a lot of challenge there. But of course, still it is confined to major cities and also high-paying, income group, OTT, as of today. And the second challenge is from Free Dish. He's sitting next to me. And they have got almost like 50 or more than million subscribers there. There is a big churn out is coming from pay TV to Doordarshan. I have to frankly admit, because all prepaid customers, when they don't have money, they straight away go to Free Dish because then nothing to pay there. So that is one challenge. Third challenge is IPL rights have been divided between Star as well as to the TV18. So Jio is giving, through Jio Cinema, they're offering this one there at free. So these are the main three challenges there. But definitely, I'm positive, because if you see globally, in terms of the OTT services there, you take Paramount or Disney. There, there got two components. One is broadcast, other one is OTT streaming there. Broadcast side, their operating margins are very high. 40, 20%, 40%, 20% is there. But growth for broadcast is almost like 5% or 0% there. Coming to streaming, their growth is very good, 82%, but operating costs are negative there completely. So I think, at some point of time, there will be, it will settle down. Satellite is going to be there forever. And the reason being, if you see there, what is the gigabit cost for delivering content? 1 gigabyte will cost around 1 cent, is equivalent to almost like 80 paisa actually. This is only this thing. Whereas whether this cost, the delivering cost remains same either for one customer or 17 million customers or 22 million customers. Whereas OTT cost is linear actually. Acquiring, basically, you have to lay the cable, not just only backbone alone. Basically, you need to go to each and every customer there. Definitely, the fiber, I feel it is a linear function. It is not constant. Whereas for satellite, it is going to be diminishing there. So with this one, I think, I'll stop it here.
Thank you, Raju. And the challenges from your left and right both eventually contribute to the nation building and the capacity building. So the more the challenge is there, the more better and the quality of service the citizens will get, and that should be the ultimate aim of the government and all stakeholders. So Rajdeep, on my next question to you, do you see a changing relevance of satellite technology in B2B or B2C delivery of the content?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I just wanted to change the tone of the discussion because we're going to depression all of a sudden. Whether satellite will be there or not, as if we're discussing existential threat, right? I think things which are commodity will be cheaper, okay? Satellite were there before in 70s also. Now, there hasn't been proliferation of the satellite operator, frequency is there. Now, satellite, when the spectrum will become less, it will become expensive. Satellite will be there as long as the technology serves the purpose one to many, I think it will be there. So I think we must be in a positive tone as to how do we see. Of course, I just want to touch base on the relevance part, but there has been debate going on OTT and the linear. I think it is never linear versus OTT. It is OTT and linear. You can't ask a viewer, a consumer, that can you guarantee me, will you only watch it on the linear or OTT? He doesn't care as long as he has a content in front of him. In the easiest way, he's happy to see it. It's up to us, how do we make our framework that compelling, that it flows into the market where it needs. It's not necessary that at everywhere linear or OTT will work. I mean, it has to complement. So having said this, just to address relevance of satellite into B2B and B2C market, absolutely yes. I've spent a lot of my time in telcos providing connectivity in MPLS and fiber. And I have seen there also that you cannot meet all the connectivity requirement using single technology, be it a fiber or BWA, correct? And same thing will work in a satellite also. So when we're talking about such a large landmass of India, I think satellite will remain relevant because B2B is the simplest, fastest, and the most reliable source of transforming the content. Now I'll just take a practical example. I wish we had MSO or LCO here in this dais. See, today, if you look at India, we spoke about the linear number of channels, right? If you see last 5 years, we are just there. 10, 15 heads up, 10, 15 goes down, we are there. But if you look at our distribution scenario, today we have about 1750 MSOs and 100,000 of LCOs carrying the same content on a fiber, okay, to their regions. And a tremendous amount of maintenance goes into that. I believe if the same content is being distributed on satellite, you don't need those terabits of capacity which is going into the telcos, right? And it is 100% reliable, right? So satellite is relevant. Of course, when we talk about relevance and innovation, we have to also look at regulation, right? I'm very happy that infrastructure sharing has been come into more clarity over last 2 years, and unfortunately that was a COVID time. So I think just about a year effectively, right? So I believe that infrastructure sharing could evaluate to exactly what innovation can lead to, right? But at the same time, I also believe that there are certain innovation which have to be reflected again, right? Because I think about 7-8 years back, we were talking about 4K was on big buzz. I think OEM, when they want to sell the technology and product, they come create the narrative. But the reality is that today, where we are fighting for a spectrum, which is, I think, more an existential threat than anything else, we should look at a technology which can help us do more with less. And for that matter, HEVC, right? So I believe it's about the regulation and adaptability, which could also complement the relevance of satellite. So while I must put it down as the last note that satellite is relevant in both B2B space to save the cost of the distribution, and also in B2C space, as Raju just mentioned, in the DTH, right? There are millions of households. And let us understand that India has still not achieved its full potential. We still have 140 million houses which is yet to be connected on television. So we are talking about huge gamut. And last but not the least, while we talk about all these scenario of cost factor, this, let's understand that our government and country, we are looking at becoming 5 trillion. So our affordability of the household is increasing. So therefore, we see a different able India and the viewership in over next 5 to 7 years. So I think we have to keep that into the mind and see satellite relevant and, just put into the right ecosystem to make it more viable, right? Thank you.
Very well said, Rajdeep. There is a potential and the market is unsaturated as on date. It will continue to be there for another 5 to 10 years. And so there is a lot of potential in the growth of the sector. So over to you, Mr. Antony. How do you take from ABT point of view the challenges and the future prospects in this scenario?
Yeah. Thank you. Collaboration and localization. This is the name of the game, right? So like what Sanjay and Rajat expressed, right? That is from a customer perspective, what they want. And, I've made note of that, and we will share that with our satellite team to, think about these in these lines. But when I tell about collaboration and localization, earlier days, we like one thing that you asked was about the pricing, right? Earlier, if you wanted to use for your occasional whatever feed, news feed and all that, you need to buy capacity and pay us on a monthly and a long-term contract. But listening to you all, we have changed that concept and we brought in what we call the occasional use. So today, you don't even need to interact with anybody. You just send an email and then, you get the frequency, end of the month, you're billed. So life is made much easier. So that is listening to the customer and addressing that requirement. Now when, the linear and the, we talk about OTT, right? So we didn't look at it as a threat, but we just said that, okay, this is some changing, scenario in the market, right? How customers are going to consume the content. So what we did was we launched a app called APSTAR TV, right? Which was an enabler for our customers, right? So that, of course, the big broadcasters would, design and put up their own app, but there are a lot of small broadcasters who would like to be in that space. So who are also having subscribers out of my satellite footprint. So they could just tell them to download the app and, view it anywhere, right? Even when they're out of their home country. So this is collaboration, right? And coming to localization, similarly, in different countries, right, we work differently, right? So now we can see the changing pattern of how video is being sent. Like Chairman said that now, on the telcos, there's more video flowing, right? So similarly, in some countries, we are launching satellites, but we've also changed the way we are ordering satellites, because the cost is something which is, needs to be kept in mind. And we are ordering small satellites with electrical, propulsion, more towards maybe that specific country, so we can drive more data and reduce the costs.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. And yes, the mandate is to turn what were traditionally closed ecosystems into open platforms, while leveraging ICT cost points as well. So, Sanjay, Rajat, last question to you. What is your vision window on the innovations?
Okay, so innovation is again, like it's a continuous thing. Innovation of one generation becomes commodity of the next, so it need to be fast cycle. I would, hearing Raju, it was good. I thought I am a consumer in this sector, but I realized I am also a competitor. So that was good to hear. I would resonate what Rajdeep said. The situation is not that gloomy. Just to give an example of recent IPL, on the IPL finals, we had 32 million concurrent users. And 32 million concurrent users, we were almost occupying the entire internet capacity of India. So if this number had gone beyond, we would have to lower the quality, that the 4K content we would have to lower it off, or we would have to do away with the fear of the consumers. So the situation is not gloomy. Satellite has huge opportunity. As I earlier said, as a content producer, if there are no constraints of cost and availability, I would still want to do my remote production of IPL or any other thing on satellite, because that provides me more of confidence, reliability, and from security point of view also, it is lesser hackable. So there is an opportunity. What we need to look at, how we can lower the cost. From the vision window point of view, what Sunil you asked, it's one thing which I really aspire is, which I mentioned in earlier question, is the data center in the sky. Other is satellite communication today is hampered with interference, and that incidents are rising. So much so that if even the high throughput capacity satellites come in, there will have to be capping on the data throughput that would be enabled. So perhaps, and there are few who at the work have started, perhaps we could look at, like in earlier days in terrestrial mode, we moved from copper to fiber optics. Here again, like from RF to laser. If that becomes the mode of communication, it becomes lesser, it becomes more pointed, more directional, lesser succumbable to interference, and perhaps a better quality or better proposition that would be. I would leave it at that. The 2 points, cost, availability is what we. Thank you.
I think Rajat has very well pointed out that 32 million people watching the video on the mobile and choking the telco networks, that again boosts the satellite capacity or satellite bandwidth demand for the people. So it is not a gloomy, it is a very promising sector again from this point of view as well.
Yeah, even at a global, I'll just add, even at a global level, if we see, it's not about India internet capacity. Global level, if everybody gets into prime time television viewing, what we have today, if everybody wants to get into OTT or digital platform to consume prime time content, only around 7.5 to 9% of consumers will be catered. That is the capacity constraint that we have.
That's right. So, Sanjay, the last question to you. In your view, how can satellite industry retain and grow its role in this area? And again, on the challenges, how do compose to meet the challenges from the satellite point of view?
Right. Thank you, sir. So, as a representative of consumers, B2B2C company who have who have a lot of technical people. We are a very technology-oriented company. We have had many discussions, I think years of discussions with satellite people on one side, internet, customer on the other side. So we do see this challenge. Definitely, if you ask me, what are we doing currently about it? Two things. We are trying to see how can we reinvent the teleport business, for example. How can we make it cheaper for linear channels to reach endpoints? We have applied for example, KU band teleport license. It's still under consideration, but we see that might be a good way of reducing that whole fiber that LCOs have to, or MSOs have to draw for miles. So they can put up their MSO terminals closer to consumer locations and be able to deliver from there. We are looking at Sky CDN kind of solution where we can, like what Rajat was saying, when there is huge traffic, we can just drop the main content to cache servers, to edge centers, and from there it can be consumed directly. So reduce the overall internet bandwidth from the origin servers. Those are the kind of things. Third thing, what Rajdeep was talking about, we are seeing that the satellite spectrum, particularly in C-band, is shrinking because of the 5G and all that. We are very much looking at infrastructure sharing opportunities. If you see, traditionally the teleport business in itself was in a way infrastructure sharing business. When we set up the teleport, we tried to convince customers, teleport, these captive teleport operators, broadcasters, don't do this. It's not your core business. Let us do it. We will save infrastructure. We will be able to, give you better services. We can reduce costs. That has picked up. We can see this happening more and more in other segments like hits maybe, or even DTH, who knows. So those are the kind of areas where we can do a solutioning to help for future. But technology-wise, definitely, what we have been seeing in the morning session, I saw quite amazing 6G satellites, software-defined satellites, being able to move from low Earth to mid-Earth to geostationary satellites based on demand. We have also set up our, as I said, in-flight maritime gateway, which is actually a mobility solution where we can drop content or internet-based content to any mobile device, moving device on the move. So those are so satellites that support this kind of technology will definitely be something we will be looking for in the future.
Thank you. So Raju, next question to you. Without being compressed from the left and right on the challenges, how do you see this future of this satellite video industry from SES point of view?
Yeah, before answering your question there, just I want to tell you that DD has been my customer in all my 3 organizations. When I worked in Department of Telecommunication, we supported them for providing, transportable terminal and uplink the Marathi channel from Worli TV. So I got long association with Doordarshan. Similarly, when I worked in Intelsat, when Doordarshan has got some problem with the Arabsat, we moved all their analog channels to Intelsat by leasing INSAT capacity. And third is when I worked in ACS, again I got, we are the first people to support them for uplinking their free dish on our NSS-6 satellite. That I have got you're my ex-customer as well at the same time, competition. Competition is required definitely, otherwise people will be lethargic. And that will give you a lot of opportunities also. Similarly, TV18 actually has been a customer when I worked in Intelsat, and currently you are also my customer through Geo, and we have been supporting you for the HDS capacity and Empower there. So please take it in a right spirit only there. So competition is required, otherwise you will become lethargic there. Coming back to the thing here, as I told you, necessity is the mother of invention, and also this, all these challenges will provide a lot of innovation, lead to the innovation there. So currently we are working at 4 to 5 projects there to provide better efficiencies, better value addition to our customers. One is edge feeding. Yesterday, I remember Mr. Dharmendra Singh has told there are 38,000 villages who doesn't have the coverage, and almost 10,000 villages has got only one bar. So what is edge feeding? Basically, currently, these locations, they don't have access for the content. So what satellites can help by providing, edge feeding to this thing here, so that this can be used for the remote schools, colleges there, where they don't have any access to the content there. It can be offline or online, or this also can be for VOD, video on demand, and any kiosk can receive this thing here. Then whoever wants, they can always through Wi-Fi they can access the content and use it there. Otherwise, if they use their mobile data, definitely they'll be consuming the entire thing here. By offline, they can do here. It will be cost-effective solution. One is then also airline industry and cruise also they can use there. So one is, to summarize, we are working on this edge feeding, and we are also conducting some field trials in other parts of the world. So that is one part. Second thing is as Mr. Rajat Nigam has told that in the sky we should have the data centers. Actually, satellite feed by CDN. Currently, mobile networks, either 4G and 5G, they are using for content distribution, locating different data centers, and customers are getting the video content is going through CDN there. If everybody pulls the video content, the CDN network gets choked there. Here again, satellite can help. The video from the source directly can go to the satellite, then it can go to the edge data centers. From there, customers can get it there. So these are the two projects we are working there. And two more things, just only add-on value. One is targeted advertising. Actually, the beauty of OTT is they can target the advertising. That is a feature is there, but as linear TV or pay TV, we don't have the feature here. So what we are doing is we're combining the internet, what available at the customer premises with the linear TV. We want to target advertising there, so that this will be a good value addition to the broadcaster. Then the last one is audience measurement. As of today, very well in India, I think this is given to a third party, and they will on sample basis they install some gadgets in different places there and collect the data about customer viewers behavior there. So we are developing a software which can be injected into the set-top box there. It can be installed, so that this will provide similar thing here without any intervention of the somebody need not have to go and collect it there. So this is audience measurement. So there are 4 initiatives we are doing there. This will help there. But reality is there. Definitely OTT is a challenge. We need to see how exactly we need to come out with new ideas and new solutions there. I'll leave it here at this point of time.
Very well said. Rajdeep, your take on this role, how can the satellite industry retain its role and grow?
So, lot has been said, I think. So what we are doing, okay. Now we are collecting money for broadcasters. Now we are distributing their content. So essentially what we are trying to do is we're trying to make things easier and easier, so that there is a relevant business case for my customer to be with me. So there are a host of things that we're doing. But today, I think as a satellite operator, what we believe we should do and what we are doing is, we are complementing at both the ends. I think Sanjay did phenomenal job, PMSL. During this IPL, while Asiasat 5, they were doing DSNG uplink, they were also ingesting for Geo, right? That's what is required now. Macau Grand Prix, we acquired a company called One Click Go Live. It was Hermes Live. It's an online platform. So today, my linear broadcaster also wants to monetize his content, so I put them behind the paywall. So we, as an operator, to be relevant, we are trying to make things more easier, simpler, and better business case for our customers. That's what we are doing, number one. Number two, we are also going to the different region-wise. As I said, it's hyper-competitive. Different regions has a different challenges. We are going to the regulator, and we are influencing them for a policy which is market-facing and not autocratic in a way, right? I think the infrastructure sharing has come after a lot of fight of last 5 to 6 years. A lot of people have put in a lot of time. Raju ji is there, right? He's veteran into it. So we, as a satellite operator, to be relevant, I think we have to work at the regulatory level to keep things more relevant. Second, we must understand the business case of a broadcaster as to what are the challenges. There are 2 things that's happening in India. every month, there's a 17 to 20 MSOs shutting down. Okay, every month. And TV channels are also shutting down. We have seen it in COVID, we have seen it now, and the market says that with the election coming up, the more channel will come down, right? So we have to stay relevant to our customer to see what is the need of an hour. Now, what we are doing additionally is, there are customers who are in India, are broadcasters. We are trying to distribute them in Indonesia, because they were not making money out of Indonesia. We are trying to distribute them in Japan. So we are doing that part. So we are actually trying to influence them into their operations wherever possible to create higher returns. I think that's one of the critical way of being relevant with them. And what Rajat ji has said, that cost and reliability, correct? So what we are doing by distributing, I'm taking away his pain of satellite cost to great extent. May not be 100%, but 50%. So there I'm being relevant to him. So I think it is important that to stay more relevant, particularly in India, I think infrastructure sharing is the way forward. We see that with the spectrum going in the challenges of IMT, definitely there will be some haircut. What amount of haircut we don't know, but the reality is that if there is a family which is living in a 5-bedroom and you are telling them I'm going to give you 2-bedroom, they'll have to do a lot of adjustment. Right. So the spectrum is an existential threat, and I think that will lead for satellite operator to do the infrastructure sharing or optimization of this mode code, which currently broadcasts are very conservative about, right? So they may have to go to 8 PSK to 16 APSK or 32 APSK. And simul script may be the another reality. Why do we need to do 2 or 3 times uplink? So I think those are the things which is also dependent on regulatory. So we'll have to keep innovating and yet creating a more better business case for our customer. I think that's the reality we'll have to face and do. Thank you.
Rajdeep, thank you. So Thomas, we have to stay relevant, as just Mr. Rajdeep told. What is APT's take on staying relevant and being innovative? What type of innovation do you see from your industry point of view?
Yeah, thank you. Innovation is the key to manage disruption, right? We see disruption coming from different sides. So one of the things was for example, we have a teleport, right, which we manage, and we want the broadcasters to send their signals there. Earlier, they had to sign up with a telco to, lease cables, right, and pay a fee, huge fee. But as things change in technology, and we saw streaming companies coming up where we can just use public internet and bring their content to our teleport. So initially, people were concerned, how is a satellite operator going to engage in this? Because it is a disruption to you and you're going to reduce usage of satellite capacity for contribution. But it's better to, innovate and manage the disruption rather than to go and face it right head on. So by doing this, we are able to actually enhance the value of our satellite and the broadcast capability, multicast capability of satellites, right? So we want to stay relevant in that part, which is very important. And just to give an overview on in terms of what we do to stay relevant is for example, 2 points which came. One was the interference part, right, which Rajat said. So you'll see one very important thing to do when you when you want to launch a satellite is the coordination with your neighboring satellites, right? And with the countries where you're going to, provide service. So we have a team which basically goes through that coordination. And once you have a good coordinated satellite, interference can be well avoided, right? So that's one critical point. Other one is, when we're building the HTS satellite, it's very important to know where you're going to put your gateway, right? One example I'll give you is like in the Gulf country, right? Every country requires mandates that you should have the gateway in the country. So now before I launch the satellite, I should know where I'm going to have the gateway. But unfortunately in today's market, in this disruption market with LEO and all that, it's very difficult to get an engagement from your customer for a pre-launch contract. So where is the innovation? We come with, where we work with the manufacturer to come with a plan where after I launch the satellite, I can change the location where I will put my gateway beam. Okay, so these are software design satellites, flexible gateways. So all these things, and plus also what kind of frequency we will use for the gateway, right? Now we are working towards QV, of course K-band gateway beam, user terminal will be KU, so that there's less of disruption with the existing antennas which are already in the ground. So we will continue to be relevant. And just on a note on the Indian television consumption, I have Pankaj from Chrome Data, who just shared that still linear television is very relevant in India, right? It's about the habit of how you want to consume, right? You want your remote in your hand and you want to surf, right? So I think the linear continues to be relevant as OTT also grows. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Thomas, for your considered analysis and sharing your thoughts. And before we take questions, I would request Pankaj to share his ideas on data analytics in this industry.
Hi, thank you. This comes completely unexpected, so this is not plugged. Yeah, Thomas, I think you've rightly said it. It's all about habit. And Rajdeep put a very good point. OTT and linear are meant to coexist. If new mediums were to kill earlier mediums, newspapers would have long vanished. Why would you get a paper, cut trees, get news of yesterday, read it today in the morning when you have the same thing or even more updated information on something that you carry for no cost? So I think mediums will continue to coexist. Linear is not going down. The consumption of linear content is moving gradually from cable and satellite to OTT. But cable and satellite is a huge base in India. You're talking about 161 million active homes in India, which includes free dish as well. But 161 is a huge number. It's an habit. So the example which I quote every time I speak is my mother. So I have managed to get her a smart TV, but she still has the Tata Sky box. She won't let go of that remote. It's a habit to go plus minus channels, right? And that exists amongst a lot of people. And that number is a staggering 160 million plus. The challenge that I see for the satellite business limited to B2B is obviously the new generation. So my mother on one side won't give up the Tata Sky. My daughter on the other side is never used the Tata Sky. Right, so that's a generation they're used to touch screen. So that's a challenge that comes. But innovative ways of how to do more B2B to B2B2C. An example I think Thomas you said was the APT application. So I don't know how well it went, but you might want to share on how that application went, because we know a lot of broadcasters on the smaller side who would not have the infrastructure or the expertise or the resources to get into the OTT segment, and they continue to struggle on the linear side. So maybe that is something that you guys could collectively bring to the table. But as far as the satellite business is concerned, I think it's very important for all of us to know in the room, it's here for a long time. I remember in 2005 or 2003 when I was part of National Geographic, there was this panic that analog is over. Digital is going to kill everything. It took like 15 years after that for analog to go, because it's a habit. Things take time to change. So I think the satellite existing format will continue for a very long time. I'll leave it at that. And thank you for this. Thank you, Sunilji. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj, for sharing your very well in-depth analysis ideas with the audience here. And audience, it's your time for questions. Can we have it from you? Yes, Nama.
Yeah, my name is Prabhat. I'm from Hughes district. We actually do software development, not into this industry exactly. But yeah, I have certain observations based on that. I'm asking this question. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that OTT is a threat or is a concern. But I see that there is one more industry which is booming, is the gaming industry. And there we do some software development as well. And it is already bigger than the film industry and the music industry put together. And most of the new generation, the children, they are using it, the TV, they are using the TV for gaming purpose rather than for seeing anything else. Okay, so it has transformed from the idiot box to smart box to now to a gaming box. So do you see that as a concern from the satellite operation point of view? Because it is eating, this gaming time is also eating into the TV time of the family. So is that a concern that you see? And how do you try to address it in future? Thank you.
I think it's more of I don't think it's a challenge for satellite industry, or I don't think it's a challenge for TV, because there are a couple of things that has happened. We are talking about those segments where more than one TV, which is the gaming on the TV, more than one TV. Second, I think I'm a father to a young kid, okay? So every parent has now put a time to the gaming and war. Right. So I don't think so. I think it's just about managing time. It doesn't eat away. I think it just creates more dependency on the screen. That's which is wrong thing. But other than that, I don't think so. It will impact anything on satellite. Yeah.
So Mr. Amit is here from the leading journalist covering the foreign ministries and all. Your question.
Sir, namaskar, madam. My name is Amit Deshmukh. I just asked direct question of final product of video. Recently, we heard many news about the young generation, how impact the video on young generation of India. Also, they have sleep disorder, mental problem. We are living in post-COVID era. So, sir, we have any plan to control our this kind of thing? And second is, sir, our some neighboring country, they have some mechanism how they control their negative videos to improve the country positive image. So, due to our negative videos, lots of our tourists, lots of foreign country tourists, researchers call it, if they want to 10 tourists in India, only one tourist come due to our 1 and 2 negative videos in every day our era. So I direct question to you, sir, ki as a public broadcaster, as a global president of all the things, we have any planning in this tour for human health, especially for India, and our negative news impact too much on our lots of industries due to our videos? So this is my question.
That's a very relevant question. In fact, see, as far as the production of the public broadcaster is concerned, there are certain code of ethics and conduct. So nothing will go out from the public broadcaster which hampers the interests of the nation or the citizens. And regarding the news, negativity and all, they are, see, India has got a freedom of the press. You cannot check that. Yes, the government and the minister is very concerned on the fake news part, and that is being addressed through the ministry as well as the regulator. So that's it.
Sir, but still we need to, because according to my experience writing some research paper on this domain also, I also submit some research paper. As a researcher, we feel we have too much losses. So I already submit some paper somewhere. So I ask this question. I know, sir, lots of challenges, and for me, it's too much freedom in India. And due to the booming of the 2G, 3G, 4D, and now in 6G era, also the famous scientist of 6G era, Professor Ramji Prasad, he is the Indian citizen living in Denmark. He also point out on some research. So I asked, sir, this question.
Thank you. In fact, freedom of press is a charter of the Constitution, but your points are well noted, and thank you for that. Any other questions? So with this, I think we are in time to conclude the session, and thank you, my very dear and esteemed panelists who are here with a lot of knowledge, lot of industry experience, for sharing your thoughts, ideas on the different questions and enlightening the audience as well as me. So thank you for the session, and thank you SIA for the beautiful session and the topic given to us.
Very thank you, sir. I guess that was a very informative and cognitive session that we had. I will thank all the delegates present here in the audience and on the dais for taking out your time and making our event a success. We will now head for the lunch here, and I request VIPs and speakers to move to the lunch area near the Oval Hall, and delegates are most welcomed in the tea area for a smooth transition. We will come back at 2:30 for an afternoon session. Thank you so much. I request the dais for a group photograph, please.